Good morning and welcome to another edition of Artists. I'm your host, Omar Rashida. Now joining me live in the studio, we have a very special subject. We're going to talk about the book, From Tears to Glory, The Stories of Our Lives. And I think it was written by, who was it written by?
Oh my
You. Yeah, okay, all right. Yours truly. I got Miss Blake, Jerry Cobb, Miss Chapman. Good morning. How's everyone?
morning.
All right, From Tears to Glory, The Stories of Our Lives is a story about 8 strangers from North Philadelphia who come together to participate in a cultural awareness group. And each member get to talk about culture-related issues that have a profound effect in their communities. It took me about maybe a year and a half to write something that sort of, it was a play, which I condensed it to a book. So this is my first novel, my first debut novel. So we'll start off with you. What were your thoughts on the book that you read so far?
Okay, well, first and foremost, congratulations. This is an amazing book. I read through it, and there's characters in here that all of us could probably relate to, either with ourselves or a family member or friends. And I'm just loving it because you got 8 people come together with different problems, different concerns, yet they're bonding in a way that brings them all back together. And again, Vernon is one that I really kind of related to, so we can talk about him a little bit later, which I understand was your role in the play.
Yeah. Okay, so I feel honored. Okay, Jerry.
I'd like to congratulate you too, Omar. It's a good book, and I keep saying that. And when we were talking earlier, I was saying that she's like the men, but I'm amazed at how you can get the female point of view and put it on book. I mean, when I was reading it, I was saying, guys, that's good, and you say you did your research and everything. And I like the way, I'm reading it and I'm thinking this is going to happen, and then a twist comes. So I do like that.
Okay, well, I try not to be too predictable.
I just like the fact that it does relate to things that I know I had in my past and how I've moved forward from them and how I've forgiven people and have been able to move forward because of that. Because some of those incidents that happened in my life at that time, very frustrating, and it made me an introvert, and is part of the reason why people thought I was stuck up, but I was actually shy.
Right.
And so it was just the opposite.
Right.
And getting in plays and singing helped me to become more open, and
Right.
so these characters, that's what helps me relate to how I changed.
We're going to stay with you. We talked about the characters. We mentioned characters. All of you mentioned characters. Is there a particular character that you really related to, or characters that you related to that were like, wow, this is something? And you don't necessarily have to like the character, but just a character that just kind of stood out.
Well, when I was reading with Reggie's, it was talking about neighborhood violence and that sort of thing, and it brought back to me the parts about bullying, because in elementary school and right into junior high, because of the friends I had in elementary school and took to junior high, they picked on me because I wasn't friends with my race. I was friends because that's all I had in elementary. I was the only black in one of my classes.
Oh, wow.
And so that bullying started. I would get, they'd make me walk home from school on one foot. They'd steal my lunch money. They would beat me and my sisters up. I even had a girl beat me up at the bus stop and sat on me until her bus came.
Wow.
I mean, that's kind of stuff. So I learned to fight after that. And I said I wasn't going to be bullied anymore. And so those kind of negative things helped me learn what not to do and how to overcome them. And that made me the person that I am today.
Well, you're speaking of bullying, now today you got the cyberbullying, you got the social media bullying. I mean, I've seen stories where people were bullied on Facebook or Instagram and they actually committed suicide. Matter of fact, I think it was this week I read a 9-year-old African-American girl who committed suicide. I was like, wow. So the bullying goes beyond just the physical abuse, but the mental abuse as well. Okay, Jerry, what's character stand up for you?
Then I'm gonna put on Ebony. You know how they was talking about one of the things she said, we're programmed. The media controls our thinking and influences, and a lot of the media gets us in the black community to hate who we are.
Yeah.
Because we don't see the positive image, and even one incident where the biracial Lisa or one of them, Kimberly grandparents treated her wrong because of all she knew about blacks was what she seen in the newspaper or from the media.
Right.
And we can't let the media influence us.
Definitely. Okay, you're next.
Okay, Mr. Vernon, a.k.a. Omar. I don't know how come I chose you, but I do know why I chose Vernon, because he was raised by his grandmother. He did not have his parents. His mother died upon his birth, and he never knew his father. And later on in the book, we find out more about his father.
Right.
But as someone that grew up in a household with a grandmother, with no parents, even though he was a man, I'm obviously a woman, but I understand what it's like to have that second generation teaching. And I could read, in the words, the love that they had. So in that sense, you really connected with me, and I'm pretty sure you're going to connect with a lot of readers who are raised or have been raised by their grandparents, but old generation grandparents, not young
no.
old grandparents.
Absolutely.
My grandmom was like in her 50s when she took my sister and myself. So you could tell that Vernon was going to be with her until the end, like I was with my grandmom until she passed on.
Well, being we all African Americans, that was quite common.
Yes,
Yes,
very
it was.
common. Yes.
Even today, it's just like generation after generation. Grandparents, for one reason or another, had to raise the grandkids. And we don't. A lot of us as men, we give honor to our mothers. We thank our mothers, which is exactly right. But sometimes a lot of us grew up with our grandmothers, and the grandmas, they set the tone in terms of family morals and values. They're the ones who make sure that we get up early and go to church. So I don't know if anybody want to comment about the significance of having grandparents in your life.
Well, I didn't know. I only knew one grandparent, and she passed when I was 6.
Oh wow.
But my parents, now that they're gone, the lessons that they taught me and I didn't listen to while they were here, they're coming to me right now. A friend of mine, he said his mom told him when he was younger, "When I close my eyes, yours will be opened."
Wow.
And that is so profound, because I see myself saying now, my mom told me this, my pop told me that.
Right.
So I thank God for that wisdom.
Absolutely.
Because, I
And
thank
the
God
wisdom
for
Yeah,
it.
my
Awesome back
grandma was
then.
amazing. She
Yes.
was amazing. I mean, again, she was 55
Oh, okay.
and she had already raised 6 children.
Yeah. So she got
So
start
here
all
she
over again.
took in 2 other little girls, so she kind of had to start over.
Right.
And I thought about that when I turned 55. I'm like, oh my God, would I take in more kids?
But you would.
Now? Would I? That's a thought.
Because you was taught that.
I was
by-
taught
you
that.
was taught
Yeah.
that. See, and that's the strength that we
Oh,
have
definitely.
within us.
Definitely.
But if
absolutely.
you let the media, teachers, they say we have no strength whatsoever. You know.
I remember my grandma being a very quiet spirit, and she took care of 11 grandkids that they
Wow.
kept bringing to her house during the time. And I often wonder, where does she get that strength? But she had such a quiet spirit, and she always had an immaculate household, and that stuff resonated with me. I find myself being a lot like her. Don't know if I'd be babysitting
Right.
11 grandkids, but
Right, exactly.
I don't have that many.
Bringing all the
but,
kids in,
I don't
doing
know if
their
I would have
hair.
that much
Yeah.
strength, but other things in her, I see myself being just like her. So I appreciated the old school grandmother.
Right. At the top of the program, you mentioned about how well I wrote the scenes, for the females. I tell you, one particular scene. Well, you got sisters, you got aunts, you got grandmothers,
Yeah.
you got co-workers. You do a lot of observations, and I interview a lot of women. So especially during March Women's History Month. So, in addition to doing research. So,
you captured a lot.
but one scene that was a bit challenged was the hair scene when they went in the hair salon. Because
goodness.
women in their hair, I could look at a woman's hair and say, "Oh, that's nice," but she might think, So what do you think about the hair scene? Jared
Well-
Reed, but as a male, I'm gonna get your perspective. What you thought about the hair scene, and then
Okay.
like,
You want
You
me
can
to-
go first.
I can go first. Okay. Okay. The hair scene. And you know what? We're gonna swing back to grandmothers.
Yeah,
When I
right.
was raised, my grandmom, obviously, my sister and I had straight hair, and my cousins had thicker hair. So when it came down to preparing us for a church the next morning, my grandma would be straightening their hair. They hated having their hair straightened, but we wanted our hair straightened. And I remember trying, back in the day, was Aqua Neck or whatever it was. I tried to get an Afro puff, like, and it just wouldn't work. So it was like,
hard.
you want to, it's like, you feel like your hair is not as good, and then it's vice versa. So every woman, I guess you can relate, Deb.
Yeah,
How,
absolutely.
I feel that I love your hair. If I could have my hair like that, I would change my hair. So it was really weird how the female characters took on the roles that we commonly
Right.
talk about, the hair.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I'm my grandmother and my mother chose my hairstyles when I was younger. So when I got older, then I started doing the permanent and all that stuff. Until the stuff started breaking out and falling out, cut it all off to a boy cut, and then started growing this stuff right here. 20 years of this. When you don't do stuff, your hair grows.
Yeah.
Well, my grandmother used to press mine with Crisco.
Yes, that's what she
I had
did.
some straight fly hair with some Crisco. And so my mom did the perms, but it wasn't because I wanted to look like somebody else. I just wanted to be me, and she helped me be me. I just, what looked best to her in her eyes.
In her eyes.
And
Right,
so
so let me go to Jerry. Let me put Jerry on the
You
spot.
know,
Because-
okay, on the
because-
spot.
Before you answer, but there was one character who got in an argument with Ebony, and she was saying the men like the long hair, we like the straight hair, whereas Ebony was like, look, I'm natural, short hair, dreadlocks, I'm natural. So as a man, let me put you on the
So
spot.
you see me saying, look, me, I like black beauty. I like the afro. I like the natural.
Right.
But
okay.
if you have straight hair and it looks good on you, that's okay.
Right.
But it's like the reason. If you had say, I like my hair straight because the kinky and the afro, that's ugly. Then that's the frame of mind. That's the perspective. See, because afro is beautiful.
Yes.
I mean, we are so beautiful. I mean, black men are so beautiful. and we got so much out there, so much variety.
Variety, yes.
See, and we got to make
Rainbow
sure
color.
we don't hate ourselves for not, because if you put a picture up there 100 times and they say this is beautiful, this is beautiful, this is beautiful, you start to think that's beautiful,
Yeah,
and what
not
you
us.
have is not.
Yeah, that's
Right.
wrong.
See, so you got to make sure we teach ours that black is beautiful.
Absolutely.
Okay, I want to give you three opportunities to read a section from the book or a paragraph from the book which kind of enlighten you. Now, do you guys want to take a break, or do you think you're ready?
No, we good.
Okay, so we're not going to take a break. We're just going to go straight through.
I
So,
want to do Ricky because Ricky and Vernon have a connection. So,
all right.
Where's Ricky at?
Okay.
well, I'm not sure you're going to do Ricky.
All right.
Def?
Huh? Want me to do Ricky?
No, who
Oh,
do you?
oh, Reggie. I was just going to.
Oh, Reggie.
Reggie. Okay. so-
Okay, Ricky, I know. Yeah,
Okay,
that's the
yeah.
guy that reminds me of me.
Right.
Need some eyes
Okay,
for
so
this.
who wants to go first? Who wants to go first?
I'll finish. I'll just
Okay,
go ahead and do. I'm
okay.
just going to do.
Okay, sure.
It's on page 24.
Okay.
Ricky, where he at?
Yes, it was Vernon. Your grandmother is an amazing woman, like so many others. I would like to chime in and state what I want to get out of participating in this project. Reggie Black is my name. There's no doubt we live in a greater country in the world. This country has always stood for land and opportunities. Ebony looks at him with a look of disgrace. I would like to share and hear from others how we can make this country great again. Violence at an all-time high, and this is why we should bring in the National Guards in this violent neighborhoods. We need to build more prisons for these violent offenders. So I'm very interested in meeting people for the first time and have an opportunity to share and hear others' thoughts and experiences. As far as my career, I was always fascinated with communication and broadcasting. Growing up, my Uncle Robert was a news reporter on the local news. A couple of times he took me down to the station. I would like to sit next to the cameraman when my uncle was on the air. When I was 16, I had my first chance to visit the local radio station, 108.1. I really like radio business. That is being able to wear headphones and speaking in a microphone and reaching thousands of people. So you get that experience from being around the people that you admire. I thought it was so fascinating. When I entered college, I decided to major in communications. I did my first internship at the local station, local television station, working behind the camera. I also did interviews, promotions, and reported at local events for my broadcasting internships. My second internship was at the local AM station where I actually taped interviews, like Omar, made sales calls. I decided to pursue my career into radio broadcasting as opposed to television. For one, I don't have to worry about my appearance. See what we're talking about right there? I can dress at my own comfort level and don't have to wear makeup. After completing my 4-year degree, my first job in radio was at 301.7 FM. I can tell you how many celebrities I've met and had the opportunity to take pictures with and have gotten autographs. I worked there for 5 years before working in my current job, a program manager at WABN 90.8 FM, baby. The others left, so that's my spiel for now.
That's nice. Right.
Reggie's the radio producer. Okay, Cobb, you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it now. I'm do Ricky. Ricky Flowers is my name. Pretty Ricky is what they call me. He says in a joking way, the others laugh. My purpose of participating in this project is to learn and discuss how generations have changed. A lot of us see culture only as being black and white. Culture means age, ideology differences, sexual preference, technology, and gender. Today's generation's morals and values are different than what mine were. You see things on television today that you wouldn't have seen in the 70s and 80s. The others shake their heads. Women today are pursuing their educational degrees at a much higher rate than men. They are in leadership positions. Our communities have changed. There is a lack of village mentality. When I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, all we had was the village. So I'm excited to hear others' thoughts on these issues. But I have to say my piece about the conversation that just took place. While I'm one of the light-skinned guys who admire the beauty of dark-skinned women, he receives applause from Ebony and Gail. My girlfriend is dark-skinned. Now, growing up, I had girls all up on me. I had the pretty boy swag, but they say light-skinned men are out today. It's been like that for the past 20 years. I had women tell me they don't like light-skinned men. For crying out loud, I want to be back in. Back in, I say, back in jokingly. The others chuckle. But yes, I personally witnessed how the dark-skinned blacks were chastised for their skin complexion. Dark skin is so beautiful. It is so smooth. It doesn't crack, and it hardly ages. For some reason, there are some black women who don't see it that way. There have been times when I have been with my girlfriend and an African-American woman would give us this evil stare. It even happened at my job. I work at an insurance agency, at an insurance agent. One day, one of my female coworkers said to me, "Why are you with her? You can do better. You can do so much better." I was appalled by her ignorant statement and really taken aback. I basically told her to mind her business and don't talk to me unless it's business related. No one is going to disrespect my beautiful queen. I thought about what she said later. I came to the conclusion that what she was really saying was, you should be with me. No offense, but women just gossip so much, especially on the jobs. You should hear them. Girl, girl, girl. Girl, girl, girl. Girl, 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 girl. And girl. And women laugh. What I really see through all that gossip is jealousy and envy toward one another. They can be so judgmental of one another. Look at what she's wearing. Look at her hair. Look at who she's with. Now I understand why women say they prefer not to work under or with women. I didn't understand at first. They talk about each other like there's no tomorrow. Now, I'm not saying all women are like this, but man, there's a lot of cat fighting. She said, and all that mess is so unladylike. Growing up watching my mother, grandmother, and aunts, they never acted like that. They love acting and being treated like ladies. Some of these women today, I don't know if they know how to appreciate being treated like a lady. There were times when where I offered to carry their bags, and some of them looked at me with shocked looks on their face. I buy my girlfriend flowers every week. When I first started giving her flowers, I could tell she wasn't used to it. But not so long after, she wanted flowers, chocolate, diamond rings, sisters, fur coats, 100 pairs of high heels and flats, 16 credit cards. He lets out a scream. I created another cookie line. All the females begin to laugh. I learned from my father and grandfather on how to treat a woman. Treat her like a lady. Treat her like a lady, sings Ricky.
That's good. That was good.
Everything's good, but said I ain't light skinned.
Well, I'm going to do Vernon.
Okay.
I'm on page 23. I grew up with the nickname Tootie. Tootie was a nickname given to me by my grandmother. It was the first word that came out of my mouth when I began talking. April 26, 1980 was the best and worst day of my life. It was the best day in the sense of, well, it was the day I was born. And it was the worst day as well. It was the day my mother died. She had complications while giving birth to me and died an hour later. She did not get a chance to hold me before she passed, but she never had the opportunity to breastfeed, rock me, or spoil me, or even read a bedtime story. I only got to know my mother through photographs and stories shared by my grandmother. My grandmother was my next of kin. She filed the necessary paperwork to become my legal guardian. My mother was a splitting image of my grandmother. She was tall, 5'8", beautiful. She had shoulder-length hair, dark brown skin, and very slim. She had the most beautiful gray eyes. She was a vegetarian. Grandma would always share stories of how great a mother I had. She never gave my grandparents any problems. She was an only child and did very well in school. My grandmother told me that she was Daddy's girl. My grandfather died a year before I was born, so I never got the opportunity to know him either. She speaks with great pride of how great a man my grandfather was. She described him as a tall, dark, and handsome. He was a charming man and worked ever since he was 13 years old. He was the kindest man in the world, she always said. I may not have known my grandfather or how great of a man he was, but I can say that my grandmother was and still is the best grandmother in the world. That woman spoiled me my whole life. I never had gotten a beating from her. When I did something wrong, she would just correct me and keep it moving. I never really gave her much trouble. I was a fairly good kid. The main reason being she would always buy me treats and other things like bikes and video games, you name it, when I was extra good. That was a motivation for me to behave myself. One thing my grandmom said to our friends, and I'll never forget, she said, I had to take care of my grandson. There was no way I was ever going to allow him to be a child of the state or be placed up for adoption. You see, my grandmother, Olivia Sarah Miles, always believed in taking care of your own.
Yes, that was a touching moment. Yeah, that goes back to the grandparents. And like I said, one thing that you mentioned that you're reading was the skin complexion, the colorism thing that goes on in our community. You know, that's an ongoing issue. So we have 2 minutes remaining. 30 seconds each for closing comments.
Where do I get this book? This is if I don't care, you know, if you're but you're still gift giving, you know, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, whatever. Amazon.com. This is a great read, From Tears to Glory, and I believe that if you do get it, you'll find yourself or someone that you know in this book. Thank you, Omar.
Jerry?
Again, congratulations, Omar. This is a good book, and I push it to everybody I meet that likes to read. And if you don't like to read, start reading, because this is the way to freedom. You know, reading.
And I think it's an avenue for healing, because you're going to be able to relate to something in here. So get it, read it, treat yourself to a healing. This will help, absolutely.
All right, on that note, I thank you three for all coming on for today's program. I'd like to invite you all again sometimes. I know some of you, well, this is your first appearance, so thank you once again for coming on. You can get the book on Amazon.com, or you can contact me at 302-743-2067. In 2 weeks, I'll see you later. God bless.
God bless.